Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Irish Abroad Show. Jer is on sabbatical this week, so thankfully Gary Spain has joined us and stepped into his place. Gary, how are we this week? You were at a few games over in England this weekend, so we'll get talking about those. But how were they? Were they good?
All good, yeah. A good weekend. As I said, unfortunately, Treaty's game on Friday night was called off. I was hoping to make that, but I did get to a couple of games at the weekend over in England, and yeah, really enjoyed them.
Yeah, brilliant. That's great stuff. Anyway, we'll crack on straight away. We'll start with the League Cup final on Sunday. You were at that as well, and the main man, Caoimhin Kelleher, scored the winning penalty in Liverpool's League Cup final win over Chelsea. It was a cracking game besides that, but fair play to Kelleher. He stood up and he buried his penalty.
Yeah, he did, and I'm sure he hasn't had a lot of practice at taking penalties. I think more importantly, I know he didn't save any of the penalties, but more importantly, he had a very, very good 120 minutes. And it really shows the faith Jurgen Klopp has in him, that he actually trusted him to start. And that's Liverpool's first trophy at Wembley, I think, for about 10 years. I know they've won European Cups and Premier Leagues, but it showed in such an important game that Jurgen Klopp had such faith in him, and he repaid that faith in spades. He had a fantastic game and made some crucial saves. And it's one position we've talked about before, but we are in incredibly good shape. We've Gavin Bazunu, who's our number one, who's playing week in, week out. We've Mark Travers now as our number three at Bournemouth, who looks like they're heading back to the Premier League. And Caoimhin, who's an absolutely superb keeper. And just he's unfortunate that he's got Alisson ahead of him, who's probably one of the top, if not the top keeper in the world.
Yeah, definitely. I'd agree with you. Do you think he might have to get a move away to get consistent game time? Look, he is 23 now, as you mentioned. So, I mean, it is a bit of a worry. It's good to see that he's getting in the cup games, but it's probably frustrating for himself that now last night he was dropped again as well. Alisson was straight back in after having such a great weekend.
Yeah, no, I think maybe some of the thinking was he went through 120 minutes on Sunday and the penalty shootout. So I don't know, but I think maybe the thinking might have been that another 90 minutes in the cup would have been a bit too much. I would still hope he would get game time in the FA Cup, in the quarterfinals, etc. But time will tell on that. Yeah, I mean, Klopp did say he was going nowhere, and I can understand from a Liverpool perspective that they want two top quality goalkeepers at the club. So maybe the solution would be for him to go out on loan next season because, as you say, he does need game time. He's played very little professional men's football. And Gavin Bazunu's gone the opposite route. He's dropped down the divisions. And even though he's, 3 or 4 years younger than Caoimhin, he has played significantly more games. So, but then, I mean, to counter that, he's at one of the top clubs in the world. He's been with some of the best coaches in the world and working with Alisson Becker every day, who's as I said, one of the top, if not the top keeper in the world. So there's pros and cons in this, but I would certainly like to see him get more game time. And the other thing is Alisson is still relatively young. What is he? I think he's 29 or something like that. So he's going to be around for the next 6, 7, 8. I mean, God only knows how long. Buffon is still playing. And he's going to be playing until he's 46. So
yeah. But that man's never going to give up.
No, and that's fantastic to see. It's wonderful. But certainly Alisson is going to be at the top of his game for the next 6, 7, 8 years anyway. So is Caoimhin going to spend his 20s as a number two?
Yeah, definitely. That's the worry. He was brilliant on the weekend as well. Made a couple of fantastic saves as well as the penalty shootout, winning the penalty shootout for Liverpool as well, like you mentioned. And it's great for him as well. He's now put on the wall of goalkeepers as well, and at the training ground as well, which is good to see too. And look, internationals coming up for him as well. He's definitely going to get an opportunity in at least one of them anyway. We have to say that.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I would imagine that Stephen will use the upcoming games to rotate the keeper so that he will get some game time. But I still believe Gavin Bazunu is the number one, and he's going to be tough to dislodge from that spot. But look, from an Irish perspective, it's an absolutely fantastic situation to have. To have three, and I mean, Dan Randolph, I suppose, is still there if needs be as well. But to have three quality keepers now in our squad, and I wish we were as well stocked in other areas. just to note as well, I think the last Irish goalkeeper to win a Wembley final on the pitch, one of the major finals, was back in 1927 with Tom Farquharson for Cardiff, beating your boys Arsenal, Paul.
Oh, yeah. We still have the record.
So, but that's it. Just shows our players don't get to experience those days that often. I'm sure Caoimhin really enjoyed his day.
Yeah, I'd say he did, and fair play to him on that. From our Irish goalkeepers, we move to our Irish defenders in the Premier League. We'll start early on Saturday morning. Spurs were up against Leeds, and Matt Doherty grabbed the goal and an assist. It was actually a really, really nice goal as well. Well worked move by Spurs, and he grabbed an assist as well for the second goal as Spurs hammered Leeds 4-0. The point to make from that game is Marcelo Bielsa was unfortunately sacked after that. But good for Matt, and good to see him getting a bit more game time as well. Obviously played in the Cup during the week as well. We'll move on to that shortly.
Yeah, it's great. And I saw, I think it was Jamie O'Hara on Sky. I'm trying to remember who it was. From one of the Tottenham people was actually bemoaning Spurs. I know that was a fantastic win over Leeds and a really impressive performance. And they had a fantastic win against Man City as well. But they've had some terrible defeats as well and some awful performances. And anyway, my long way getting around to this was he actually excluded Matt Doherty from just about all the players who are performing badly and said Matt Doherty's been the bright spot in recent weeks and the player that stood out for him. So that was good to
Yeah,
hear.
yeah, definitely. I agree as well. You mentioned the Man City game. He put in a very important block at 3-2 towards the end of that game after he came on to keep Spurs in the lead as well. So, I mean, that's got to be mentioned too. Good to see as well. I mean, if you're not getting ahead of Emerson Royale, there has to be something wrong there. I look at Emerson Royale and I don't know. Matt is much better footballer, much better going forward as well. So it baffles me that he doesn't get in ahead of him. But look, listen, Spurs are a weird group, and we've known that for quite a while now. We move on anyway. There's a couple more lads who played in the Premier League over the weekend. Seamus Coleman got the full 90 minutes in Everton's controversial defeat to City. I don't know if you saw that, Gary, but really, really bad from the VAR and really, really bad from my namesake as well.
Yeah, look, yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm sure. I don't know if you're getting any tweets blaming you for it.
I got a message on Saturday night when I was in the pub with the lads off some random fella giving me stick. Honestly, it's never happened before, but I swear to God, you'd think I'd killed someone on them or something. But like, look, listen, if it was Arsenal or if it was Chelsea or if it was Ireland, we'd feel exactly the same, you know. So shocking.
Look, I mean, I'm not a big fan of VAR, but. It is there for occasions like this, and you think surely you can get it right at that point. Then, and it was an appalling error, and I know Everton have got an apology, but it could actually be it could make the difference between them staying up and going down.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
I mean, if they got that penalty that late in the game, you have to assume they would have scored, but it would have been a draw then, and that point could be crucial for them. And yeah, but it's great to see Seamus get the 90 minutes, and he's still a crucial player for us. And not so much even this month, but for the crucial Nations League games coming up in June.
Yeah, definitely. I feel for Paul Nealon at the minute. I never thought I would, but I actually do. God, it's really, really bad. But yeah, I mean, I heard something the other day that if Burnley had won on Tuesday night, they would have dropped into the bottom four, and I just think that's unimaginable for Everton. They're always at least 10th or above, in my opinion, anyway. And like, I know it was before I was born the last time they were nearly relegated back in the 90s. So I mean, God, it's hard to fathom. But look, listen, it's probably been brewing for a while, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, it's a funny one because it's not that long ago since they were challenging for top four as well. And I remember well, they very nearly went down. They played Wimbledon on the last day, and I think if I remember correctly, they were 2-0 down at Goodison Park, and they actually came back to win 3-2. And I think many Everton fans still describe it as one of the most crucial moments in their club's history. And that was only a few years after they twice won the top flight in England as well, and won a European trophy. So it can be a bit of an up and down for Everton, but certainly it's incredibly disappointing for them to see them in a relegation battle. And often the teams that aren't used to the battle are the ones that can really struggle. I mean, Burnley Burnley are in it every year, more or less, and they know how to battle now to win. And they were in a decent run before that defeat by Leicester.
Yeah.
And so it is going to be tough for Everton. I think they're probably just the old phrase "too good to go down." They probably just have enough. I'd still worry for the likes of Leeds, and even Brentford have been on awful form as well. So I think Everton will probably do enough to stay up. And I actually saw Newcastle the week before. It was actually over at a day trip. I saw West Ham Newcastle at the London Stadium, and there is no way Newcastle are going down. They look really, really good, and they were unfortunate not to win that game. And I think Newcastle are virtually safe as it is. And only a few weeks ago we were talking about them as being in serious trouble.
Yeah, definitely. They've bought well in January anyway, that has to be said.
Yeah.
And they're about 15th, 14th now. There's no hope of them going down. Just a couple more things in the Premier League from the weekend and on Tuesday night as well. Like you mentioned, Shane Long got 6 minutes in Southampton's 2-0 win over Norwich on Friday evening. And interestingly now, Nathan Collins came on after 41 minutes on Tuesday night. I think Ben Mee might have got injured. He came on for him. And but unfortunately, Burnley were beaten 2-0 by Leicester. They've still got a couple of games in hand, and they know how to get out of these situations. And maybe Nathan will be a part of it now in the next few weeks as well.
He could be. Ben Mee was definitely injured, and I think it looks like he might be out. I haven't heard anything since Tuesday night, but it looked like he could be out for a while now. It's obviously bad news for Burnley, but it would give Nathan a chance. He was maybe a bit lucky not to give away a penalty. There was a good penalty shout, we'll call it that, but it would be great for Nathan to get some game time. And as you say, he got over a half on Tuesday night, and he will probably get a lot more time now. And Burnley have a lot of games. They have been playing a bit lately. They had quite a few games in hand, so I still think they have a few matches to catch up on. So you'd have to imagine Nathan's going to get some game time in the coming weeks.
Yeah, definitely. And he was part of their great win against Brighton there a few weeks ago, which they kept a clean sheet in as well. So, I mean, look, he's very well fancied by Sean Dyche. I think we've heard that before as well. We'll move on into the Championship anyway. Plenty to get through here. There was one midweek game as well. But I'll just run through this and then we'll briefly talk about some of the points. So, start off, Darragh Lenihan helped Blackburn keep a clean sheet in their 1-0 win over QPR. Jeff Hendrick and Jimmy Dunn were involved for the away side in that one as well. You mentioned Mark Travers earlier. He played in Bournemouth's 2-1 win over Stoke. Bournemouth still going strong, looking for that second spot. I think Fulham probably have first guaranteed, really. Yeah. Aaron Connolly played in Middlesbrough's 3-2 defeat at Barnsley. Middlesbrough, who we'll move on to now in a while as well, Cup shockers again. Look, bad defeat at Barnsley, but Barnsley have been playing well the last few weeks, so there's no shame there. Mark McGuinness, Joel Bagan and James Collins played in Cardiff's defeat at home to Fulham as well. Good to see the lads getting game time there, particularly Mark McGuinness, who's playing 90 minutes week in, week out from what I've seen. Alan Brown got the full 90 minutes in Preston's 1-1 draw with Coventry City. Aaron Cashin, Jason Knight and Festi Ebisele played in Derby's defeat at Luton. They're now, after the weekend, they're 8 points off Reading, which is, after rallying so well, it's becoming a bit worrying now. Dan McNamara helped Millwall keep a clean sheet in their 1-0 win over Sheffield United, who John Egan and Conor Hourihane played for that night as well. And there was a clean sheet for Shane McLaughlin, who holds 3-0 win at Peterborough on Saturday as well. So yeah, getting a bit more worrying now for Derby as well. They lost again on Tuesday night as well, which we'll come to. But yeah, a bit worrying there, Gary.
Yeah, it is. A couple of mates of mine actually went to that Millwall Sheffield United game as well. And they said Millwall defended very well, that they were perhaps a little bit fortunate to win the game. Now, they were Belgian. They didn't actually necessarily pick out Denny McNamara, but they were impressed with... I had a few points with them on Saturday night, and they were impressed with the Millwall defence. Yeah, Derby, it is worrying. I thought maybe a couple of weeks ago they had been on such a good run, and with the Irish guys playing so well as well, that they might get out of it. But they've had a couple of defeats, a couple of bad refereeing decisions, I believe, going against them as well. But the other teams have found form as well. And as I say, Reading have quite a bit of a gap, have found a bit of form, so it's not looking good.
Yeah, no, not looking good at all. But look, they'll keep going anyway, as they have all season, and fair play to them on that. There's a couple of more points I have to get to from midweek as well. Monday night is basically the weekend's fixture, but it's just weird to call Monday night Saturday the weekend. What is it? Where I have it here? Yes, so there was a goal for Cyrus Christie and a clean sheet for Ryan Manning and Swansea's 2-0 win away at really faltering West Brom at the minute. Jason Malumbi, Callum Robinson, Darragh O'Shea played for them, and Michael Obafemi also played for Swansea as well. Worrying times at West Brom, Gary. They're sinking and they're sinking fast.
Yeah, I actually watched that game on Monday night on Sky, and look, they're not playing well. There isn't a lot of confidence, and the ground looked really empty as well, which isn't a good sign, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that ground has often been packed. And I think it's 5 games now without a win, only 1 draw for Steve Bruce, and they're falling well off the pace. And Callum Robinson did come close. He had a good effort, it was a good save. But Swansea probably deserved the win, and it was great to see such an Irish involvement in the game as well. Not a great game, I thought, no, but an impressive away day performance by Swansea.
Yeah, definitely. I've looked at Steve Bruce starting 11 since he's come in. I mean, from what I'm gathering, Andy Carroll is up top on his own with the lads behind him. I mean, I saw it with Shels on Monday night as well. A big lad up top with lads behind him. It just doesn't work in the game anymore. I don't think you need someone up there beside them. You can't have them behind them. It just doesn't work. The defenders will easily sniff that out. So, yeah, tough times for Steve Bruce and tough times for West Brom. I think this is actually all stemmed from around New Year. They had a bad draw with Cardiff where a couple of them lost the head after the game. They didn't get a penalty at the end. And since then, they've done absolutely nothing. And I mean, it's shocking because they were right up there with Fulham and Bournemouth, like all the way until about January. And then they've just collapsed. So worrying times. But look, at least the Irish lads are getting game time, and hopefully they can get things going again soon. Just one more thing to mention from the Championship in midweek. Cardiff and Derby. Cardiff beat them 1-0. Mark McGuinness, Festy Ebasele, Joel Fagan, Jason Knight and Aaron Cashin all played in that game. So, as usual, a load of Irish involvement in the Championship, which is great to see again. We'll move on to League One now anyway. There's a couple of points and a couple of midweek games as well to go through. So we'll start off on the weekend. It was a clean sheet for Conor Masterson and Gillingham against Anthony Scully's Lincoln City. They won 2-0 there. Warren O'Hara, Connor Coventry, and from what I've heard off MK Don's Twitter, fantastic Troy Parrott helped MK Dons to beat Kieran Sadlier's Bolton 2-0, which is great to see coming into the internationals that Troy is finding a bit of form again. There was assists from Mark Sykes and Wes Houlihan in Oxford's 4-2 win over Cambridge. Luke McNally played in that also. Wes Houlihan, still a star. We were talking about him last week. 95 minutes and got a goal. And look, another assist. What a player. What a player. Could still do a job for Ireland as well. I'm sure you agree.
Oh, absolutely. Class.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And here's the next one. There's a load of Irish involvement in this, so I'll try and paste this. Anthony Pilkington, Marcus Harness, Ronan Curtis got a goal and an assist. Aidan O'Brien and Aidan O'Brien all scored in the 3-3 draw between Fleetwood and Portsmouth. Gavin Bazunu and Sean Raggett played also. Portsmouth were 3-0 down in that one, got back to 3-all, and the Irish lads, massive involvement from them and lads who are going to be in the international setup as well.
Yeah, it's great to know. Not good to see Gavin Bazunu concede 3 goals, but it's great to see such involvement, and what a comeback by Portsmouth. And they're still in the fringes of the playoffs, so they could make a late run. And the relegation battle there, of course, is very interesting as well. That'll be a blow for Fleetwood, having been 3 up.
Yeah, definitely. And one more thing before we go on to the second game you were at on the weekend. Wigan were beaten 3-0 by Sunderland at home. James McLean and Will Keane played in that on the weekend. So you were at Wimbledon and Doncaster this weekend, Gary, and Mipo DeBecco played in that as well. How was it? A 2-all draw, I heard.
Yeah, it was a great game, a 2-all draw. Mipo came off the bench at half time, and it was a strange game in many ways. Wimbledon were much the better team, in my opinion. They deservedly took the lead. Doncaster changed a bit. They brought Mipo on, played 2 up top. Now he didn't get a lot of service and didn't get a lot of opportunity. Wimbledon went 2 up early in the second half, and deservedly so. And suddenly and the fans around me were saying this has been their problem all season. They just failed to defend 2 very simple crosses, and suddenly it was 2-2 within about 4 minutes. And know, Donny nearly won it actually near the end, and then Wimbledon nearly won it right at the death. It was actually a really entertaining game, but Meepo probably did. He didn't get much of a service, so it would be hard to judge him on the 45 minutes. He didn't really get any chances. He did run the channels well. The two guys they had up top were kind of their outballs a bit, but it was a very enjoyable game, and actually a really impressive stadium as well. It was my first time in the new stadium, and its capacity of just over 9,000, and I think would be ideal for our league. It would just be really comfortable, beautiful stadium, and I think we need a few grounds of that capacity now.
Yeah, I completely agree. We discussed that the other night as well. So yeah, completely agree with you on that one. I've seen a couple of photos of the stadium as well, and it looks fantastic. So look, great to see Wimbledon back in their own home ground as well, and great to see them, still in the third division and still fighting away to stay in there as well, which is good to see. We move on anyway to the midweek matches in League One. Sorry, I've got like 3 different pages here, so have them here. Right, so more Portsmouth action as well, more Irish involvement, and they're playing Oxford as well, so more Irish involvement for them too. So we'll start off with Sean Raggett scored, Marcus Harness got an assist, and Portsmouth beat Oxford 3-2, who Luke McNally scored a consolation goal for as well. So loads of Irish involvement, and Aidan O'Brien and Gavin Bazunu played as well. As you mentioned, Portsmouth still well in the fight after that win during the week, and that's great to see because since I've been interested in football anyway, Portsmouth have always been decent as well. They won the FA Cup in 2008, got that great draw against AC Milan in 2009 as well. They've always had Irish involvement as well, so hopefully they can get going anyway. Rotherham drew 0-0 with Shrewsbury. Chiedozie Ogbeni played a half in that. They're 7 points clear of Wigan now, which is still sort of tight. There's a load of games in hand for teams in all those divisions, so look, week in, week out, it's going to be changing. We move on to Wigan now as well. As I mentioned, Will Keane and James McLean scored in Wigan's 2-0 win over Fleetwood, but McLean was sent off late on. It looks like him and Joe Garner were sent off at the same time, Joe Garner from Fleetwood, so maybe there was a bit of handbags there. I haven't actually seen it myself, but McLean does still have that in his game. That's a tiny bit of a worry. He can lose the head very easily.
Yeah, it's a pity because I mean they're going to miss him now for I didn't see the incident, so I don't know. I can't comment on it, but he is going to miss some games now. And as you say, it is really tight at the top there. MK Dons, you talked about back out at the weekend. They have found a bit of form. Great to see Troy playing so well as well. But it probably is some of the other teams like Sunderland are falling off in the battle for the top 2. It probably will be Rotherham and Wigan in the end, but I wouldn't rule out MK Dons. But there's quite a battle, a lot of teams in the mix for the 4 playoff spots, and you can definitely go right down to Portsmouth. That was a crucial win because Oxford are in the playoffs as we speak, So it's very close. It's going to be some battle, and I just see Willie's comment there.
Yeah,
choke slammed him to the ground. It's up on YouTube. Okay.
Grand.
Yeah,
well,
so that's probably I mean that's probably at least 3 games as well, which it doesn't happen. If you lose your place in a team like Wigan, who are playing really well, notwithstanding that shock home defeat by Sunderland, but they had been on a fantastic run, and they obviously found the form back and won again midweek. If you lose your place in that team, it can be tough to get it back as well.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And, they've got a couple of injuries as well. Jamie McGrath's obviously just gone there. He got injured as well. So when he comes back, it's going to be a serious fight for places in that side, particularly towards the end of the season. One more bit of information from midweek. Daryl Horgan got 74 minutes in Wickham's 3-0 win over Cambridge United. So that is League One. We'll go back to League Two now as well. I'll start with the weekend. There's never really that much to talk about in League Two anyway, but we have a few bits. So we'll start off with Mansfield, full of Irish lads as well. Stephen Quinn got a yellow card. Sean McLaughlin played in their 2-0 win at Paddy O'Connor's Bradford City, and now Mark Hughes Bradford City as well. That's a weird one to look at, I think. Clean sheet for Owen O'Connell, Jimmy Keohane, Liam Kelly, and Corey O'Keefe in Rochdale's 1-0 win over Northampton. And Connor Wilkinson grabbed the goal in Walsall's 3-1 win over Gavin Houlihan's Hartlepool. So that's it for the weekend. I'll do midweek now. And we'll start off. We spoke about Wes Houlihan. We have Glenn Whelan here grabbing an assist in Bristol Rovers' 1-0 win over Barrow. There's another man who doesn't age and is still going strong with
Yeah,
his mate Joey Barton at Bristol Rovers.
absolutely. We talked about Buffon earlier on, so they could go past the 46, couldn't they?
Yeah, definitely. I don't see either of them stopping anytime soon either. That's the thing. And in that game as well, interestingly, Niall Canavan got a red card for Barrow as well. There's a name I haven't heard of in a long time. So, yeah, interesting there. Alan George grabbed an assist in Colchester's 2-2 draw with Leighton Orient on Tuesday as well. And Conor Wilkinson got himself another goal for Walsall in their 1-1 draw with second place Northampton as well. So, good week for Conor Wilkinson and Walsall as well. We'll move on into Scotland now. A couple of things to talk about here as well. There was a red card, disappointingly, because he's been playing so well. There was a red card for Conor Ronan in St Mirren's 2-0 defeat against Hearts. It was early on as well, so that probably killed game from there. Alan Power, Joe Shaughnessy, and Charles Dunn played in that also. Jake Doyle Hayes helped Hibs keep a clean sheet against Celtic 0-0 draw at, I think it's Easter Road.
Easter Road,
Easter
it was at
Road.
Easter
Yeah.
Road, yeah, on
I
Sunday.
always mix up
Yeah.
Kilmarnock Rugby
Okay.
Park and Easter
Right.
Road. I don't know why. I just always do. I don't know why. Anyway, there was a clean sheet for Dara O'Connor in Queen of the South's win over Dara O'Connor's Ayr United on Saturday. So that is an interesting one there. And Dara O'Connor, the first one from Queen of the South, the defender, has actually been doing quite well recently. We'll talk about him in midweek as well. Has helped him keep a few clean sheets since he's come in, so that's good to see. An assist for Connor Salmon in Alloa's 2-2 draw with Cove Rangers. There's another name who, again, former UCD, Derry City man, Wigan Athletic as well. So, look, still going. And finally, Owen Stokes got a goal in Dumbarton's 4-3 defeat at Peterhead. So that's it from Scotland on the weekend. And during the week, we had Premier Division action and we had the Challenge Cup semi-finals. So we'll start off with Celtic and St Mirren. Conor McCarthy, Charles Dunn, Joe Shaughnessy and Alan Power all played in St Mirren's 2-0 defeat at Celtic Park. There was a clean sheet for Ryan Sweeney and Jake Doyle Hayes as they both played in the 0-0 draw between Dundee and Hibs. And another clean sheet for Dara O'Connor as Queen of the South beat Cove Rangers and they will take on Wraith Rovers in the Challenge Cup final. So, I mean, fantastic from Dara. He seems to be loving it at Queen of the South on loan from Motherwell.
Yeah, great to see. I saw Wraith actually beat Kilmarnock in the semi-final, which was a bit of an impressive performance, and maybe a small bit of a surprise. Although Kilmarnock are maybe not the team they were, but it's great for Dara. I haven't seen any of their games, but good to hear that he's playing well and gets to play in a cup final.
Definitely fantastic for him. We move on into Europe now. A couple of things to talk about there. Josh Cullen got the full 90 minutes and yellow card in Anderlecht's 0-0 draw with Ode Heverley Leuven. I think I've got that right. I'm not sure though. Sometimes the Belgian names get me. But yeah, look, he got a lot of appreciation on Twitter from the Anderlecht admin. So I mean, listen, he's obviously well liked over there.
He's absolutely. I mean, and he's playing week in, week out, and it's talked about Anderlecht before. I mean, they're famous, if not one of the top, if not the top clubs in Belgium. Not quite at the levels of former glory now, obviously, and not challenging for the title, but hopefully they'll certainly get into Europe next season anyway. And it's great to see Josh playing week in, week out and playing so well. And they are a club that you would get noticed. If you're playing for Anderlecht, you'll get noticed by scouts across Europe as well. And who knows, he could end up in Italy, Spain, Germany or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Just to mention as well, they've actually got their second leg of their cup semi-final against Eupen tonight as well. And the winners of that will play Ghent in the final. So, I mean, listen, if Anderlecht get there, there's every chance they could win it as well. And that'd be a medal in the bag for Josh too.
Yeah, they would be, I suppose, fancied to beat both. I think Ghent surprised Bruges last night, which was a major shock, I think. Bruges had actually been ahead in the first leg. And Anderlecht would be expected to beat Eupen. Actually, my Belgian mates that I was with on Saturday and Sunday were actually they're from Eupen. It's a small German-speaking town in the Belgium has actually got a German-speaking part, which most people don't realise. It's not just Flemish and French, and they would be the main German-speaking team in Belgium, and normally down in the lower tier, but they've been in the top division more or less. They might have gone down and come back up again, but for the last few years anyway, they've been probably punching above their weight in mid-table, and they're actually ahead of Standard Liège, who would be the bigger club in that kind of area. But they're ahead of them in the table at the moment. But still, you would expect Anderlecht to beat them tonight. I think the first leg was a draw, wasn't it?
It was 2-2. So I mean, this should be another cracking tie anyway. That's for sure. We move on. There's another bit of information. Another man who's doing very well in Europe, Zach Elbazetti. He scored in AIK's 4-0 win over. Now I can't say that name. They won 4-0 on the weekend in the cup. And the way they do the cup over there is like kind of in Scotland, the League Cup. They do the group stages first. So look, Zach is well liked over in AIK as well, which is great to see too.
Yeah, it's great. I saw they have Irish flags and all for him. He seems to be very popular with the fans, and great to see. And he's a player that had impressed me when I saw him with Stephen Kenny's under 21s. And he could be knocking on the door for the senior squad soon now as well.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, anyway. I think he deserves it anyway with his performances. We'll finish off with the FA Cup. I should have done that before Scotland, but look, there's only a couple of things to know. We'll start off on Tuesday night. Joe Ward and Sam Schmodix played in Peterborough's 2-0 to beat the Man City. I mean, that could have been a lot worse considering it was 0-0 at half-time as well. So fair play to Peterborough, who've been shipping goals all over the place this season from what I've seen. The big one, Matt Doherty missed a massive chance as Spurs were beaten by Middlesbrough on Tuesday night. I don't know if you saw it, Gary, but it's not great.
No, I didn't actually see the chance. I had I turned on the game after that. I really only saw the bulk of extra time. And I did see a couple of the highlights, but I didn't actually see the chance he missed. No, it wasn't great. But look, listen, Middlesbrough, they've now beaten United and Spurs. They're in the cup quarter final, and Aaron Connolly will get to experience that as well. Yeah, I think he just missed out. He failed. I think he failed the late fitness test. That's why he wasn't involved on Tuesday night. But yeah, hopefully it's minor enough, and that he will be able to play in the quarter final.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, and be good for him as well. There was an impressive performance from Dubliner Peter Kioso as Luton were beaten 3-2 by Chelsea. That was a cracking game as well. Really, really good on the BBC last night. And one more bit.
Actually, I was wondering about him. I don't know if you know, Paul. I know he's born in Dublin, and the commentator mentioned it, but he's also eligible, I think, is it for DR Congo? And has he declared for us? I actually meant to look it up. Sorry to ask on a live show now, but
no. So I haven't actually looked it up myself. I only looked that he's played for the underage sides, and I know that, but obviously that's not declaring. But look, hopefully he does anyway. Like we're going places anyway with Ireland now, especially with the younger players. So I think if he did, that'd be fantastic for him as well. But look, we'll see. We'll see anyway. It's up to him really. One more bit of information, but two more bits of information in Southampton's win over West Ham. Will Smallbone got 81 minutes and Shane Long got a half. Southampton have really upped their game the last few weeks, Gary.
They have, and they actually made a few changes. So I thought they were maybe disrespecting the FA Cup, but they still got the win, which was very impressive. And great to see Will Smallbone. He had one absolutely delicious pass that should have led to a goal. And I didn't actually see the game. I only saw the highlights. But it is great to see him back. And he's one player that can pick out a pass and create some chances, which is something we're sadly lacking.
Yeah, definitely. And good to see Shane Long coming in and out and grabbing a few goals here and there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to see. And he can always still be an option as well. Another player who's still going strong. He's been around a long time. Yeah.
Obviously, the MLS did start back this weekend as well, but no news there. The only thing I have is that John Gallagher was on the bench for Austin FC in their 5-0 win over FC Cincinnati. So look, hope it's great to see the Irish lads playing over there, but it's very, very tough to track for me. So look, as little involvement as possible, but as much involvement as possible as well. That's it for the review from the weekend. There's actually just one question here I just want to put to you, Gary, because you might know a bit more than I do anyway. Obviously, terrible what's going on in the Ukraine at the minute, but is there anything being talked about at all about our upcoming fixtures against them?
So what's definitely been confirmed is the away game will not happen in Ukraine. It'll be played on neutral territory. And I don't know, but Ryanair actually emailed me. That's probably a bit ridiculous, but they cancelled my flights to Kiev for June as well and offering a refund. What I have been reading as well in the Scottish press is that the Scotland-Ukraine World Cup playoff and presumably as well the Wales-Austria and then the final will not happen this month. That has implications for us because they're going to get shifted to June. Now, obviously, look, thoughts are with the people going through the horrible situation there in Ukraine and their lives are at risk. The last thing they were worried about is football. But from our perspective, it does look like our Nations League games are going to be disrupted in June. And I'd imagine UEFA from the Nations League perspective and FIFA from the World Cup will make statements on that soon. But the Scottish press seem to have it that the Scotland-Ukraine game will move to June during the time of the Nations League. Now, Scotland are due to play Ukraine anyway on the night we're in Armenia. I think is that the 7th or 5th? I can't remember. So I don't know if it would make sense to play it that night or maybe play it earlier. So, but I would imagine we're going to lose a couple of Nations League games in June, and they're going to have to be squeezed in September and maybe November.
Yeah, grand. But anyway, as you mentioned as well, thoughts to the people over there as well. There's more important things than football. I think, as Jurgen Klopp said 2 years ago, it's the most important of the least important things in the world. So yeah, I think that sums it up in this situation as well.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, just to hear as well, two Ukrainian footballers were actually killed in the fighting. One actually guy from Karpaty Lvov who played against Shells. Well, sorry, he wouldn't have played against Shells, but they played against Shells back in the 90s. Yeah. And I think he was the goalkeeper. He died defending Kiev, And one of the other players, and a skier, an international skier, was killed as well. And thoughts with everyone. I mean, not just the sports people, but it really is an horrific situation.
Yeah, it's very, very bad, and hopefully there can be some resolution soon. Anyway, but doesn't look likely, unfortunately.
Hopefully,
yeah. Anyway, that wraps up the show for this week. Thanks very much, Gary, for jumping in, gentleman as always, and thanks everyone for watching, and thanks for the comments. And don't forget to watch, like, and subscribe. And thanks very much again, guys. So I'll see you again soon, Gary. Top man.
Cheers, guys. All the best.